All right, welcome back. We are discussing the impact of US sanctions on Iran, on India, because India has been asking for a waiver. Remember, Iran is the third largest oil importer for the Indian economy. And now we look at the options available on the table. What can India really do if US puts so much pressure that we're unable to trade with Iran? Because the US intent is to bring the oil imports or oil exports of Iran to zero. Mr. Chandra, I'd like to ask you about the options, because Dharmendra Pradhan, in a recent reply, said, as per the announcement of US, the State Department will evaluate and make determinations with respect to significant reduction exceptions at the end of the 180-day wind-down period, that is the 4th of November 2018. We don't know what's going to happen by then, but what are the options that we should be considering right now to make sure that the Indian economy, fuel prices, the Aam Aadmi is not affected?
In the first instance, we'll have to look for alternative sources of crude oil of similar grade, which are available in the market. So the quantity shouldn't worry us too much. It is the price that will be a cause of worry. The other thing that can be done is something which has to be done domestically. We have huge generation capacity on liquid fuels. If grid power improves and we have surplus generation power, I am sure that this dependence on captive generation can go down. We should look at electric mobility. Transportation of goods and people can switch to alternative modes. For example, a lot of freight traffic from trucks should be moving to the railways. That's far more economical. Similarly, the irrigation pumping sets, very inefficient, consume a lot of diesel, and they can be moved onto solar or more efficient pumps. So we have to look at demand management and even ethanol blending for that matter. To start with, we should aim at achieving that 5% blending target, move towards 10%. Each little bit will help to maintain our imports at a lower level. At the same time, export measures have to be put in place. And exporters have
Meera,
been
Shankar?
complaining of a lot of issues.
Okay. Yeah, Meera, Shankar, to get you in quickly, as we're running out of time as well, this year, India imported 15 million barrels of oil from the United States. This was a record high, more than double of last year. Do you think this is exactly what Donald Trump wants? Buy more of US oil and you could get your concession? Is that also a policy that India is following right now or trying to follow?
Well, I think the US is emerging as a source of energy supply rather than just an importer of energy with the development of shale gas and oil. So India has started importing from the United States. I think the US objective is more strategic vis-a-vis Iran, but then when they apply it to individual countries, they also look for commercial advantage. Last time, I think there was some reduction in what we were importing, and therefore, even though secondary sanctions were in place, I think India avoided becoming the target of those sanctions. So it's not that maybe you have to stop, but at least you look at ways in which you could manage it.
Okay, and Ambassador D.P. Srivastava, talking about the Chabahar Fort, let's not forget, this is a very crucial relationship that we have with Afghanistan and Iran. It gives us a strategic transit route to Afghanistan, bypassing Pakistan. What happens to this project? Nitin Gadkari recently said that we are fully committed and we will complete this project by 2019. Do you think there could be a big impact of US sanctions on this very project or not? Or no?
Let me first clarify something about the oil situation. We can have we must have discussions with all concerned, including the US, so that there's a calibrated reduction. But elimination of supplies completely from Iran is not possible. because what has happened, it's not simply a question of replacing 2 million barrels of Iranian oil. It's also a question of price, and the prices have already gone up by $6 to $7 since 8th May decision of President Trump. And the price increase has taken place even in the United States. So the US administration could not control the price increase in its own country. Now, the second part is that so far it's a question of, finding supplies for small reduction, about 500,000 barrels in the Iranian supplies. But when you're talking of completely cutting off Iranian exports, then you're looking at 2 million barrels. There is simply not that much of oil available, because looking at the Saudi data, between June and July, they have actually cut down the production by 200,000 barrels per day. And the spare capacity can only take care of, say, another 500,000 barrels, not beyond that. So what you are looking at is the need for a calibrated, balanced action on part of all concerned. Otherwise, the situation will go out of hand. It will not simply be a question of oil supplies, but it will have security implications. Now, the second part of your question about Chabahar. Chabahar indeed is important for us, and it is not a project we are undertaking for the sake of Iran. It is a project which we are undertaking for transit to Afghanistan. And the American administration understands this. Chabahar has very little relevance to Iran in economic terms, because it is located in the east. Most of the oil and population centers are in the west of the country. As Gadkari ji has said, and I had an occasion to be associated with negotiations for this project, I feel that we must remain committed to the project. And as of now, because this project in no way adds to Iranian oil export capacity or its defense potential in any, there should be no reason why an exception cannot be given for continuation of work on Chabahar port. And it has to be seen also against the background of worsening situation in Afghanistan. In fact, there are three things which are happening together: the oil situation, congressional elections, which will come in November, just when the sanctions kick in, and the worsening situation in Afghanistan.
All right. Okay, Ambassador Meera Shankar, what do you feel about the larger India-Iran relationship? This is a very important strategic relationship. What will happen to this as a result of these US sanctions?
Well, I think it depends how India plays it. And as far as Chabahar is concerned, I think the US will understand that it reduces Afghanistan's dependence on Pakistan. Therefore, it gives more options to the Afghans. And it's something which the US should be willing to provide a waiver for. And in fact, the last administration was keen that we actually pursue the project and do it quickly. So the strategic implications of the Chabahar port are really with regard to Afghanistan, and it multiplies Afghanistan's options. So I would imagine that it is something where a carve-out should be possible. And
but do you feel that these sanctions could make Iran move away from India?
I think the sanctions will make life difficult for Iran, and they would like to work with as many partners as they can, including Europe, including China. China, of course, the most important, largest importer. Russia, because it's a strategic partner. They are cooperating with Russia in Syria. And so I think that Iran will seek to, minimize the impact of the sanctions by looking for other partners. And India would also calibrate, I'm sure, its response to this. It's not going to be an either or nothing to, everything to nothing kind of situation.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Meera, Shankar, Saurabh Chandra, DP Srivastava, thank you very much for joining us on CNBC TV 18. This is a story that will have an impact not just on India, but the entire global community. Every economy is concerned. Let's just hope better sense prevails in the United States.